Good morning, dear students. The fourth type of reaction, that is the rearrangement reaction. So far we have discussed addition reactions, then elimination reactions, as well as substitution reactions. Then the fourth category, that is the rearrangement reactions. See here, in this rearrangement reaction, an atom or a group of atom, they will be moving from one place to another, or it will be moving from one position to another position. An atom or a group of atom will be moving from one position to another position. So such type of reactions we can call it as a rearrangement reaction. Okay, rearrangement reaction. See here, the structural formula will be changing after the rearrangement. We will be having a structural isomer after the rearrangement reaction. We will be obtaining a structural isomer. Structural isomer after the reaction. So an atom or group of atom will be rearranged. So here rearrangement or reshuffling of the atom takes place. Rearrangement or reshuffling. Rearrangement or reshuffling of the atom takes place. And also after the rearrangement or after reshuffling, what happens, we will be having a structural isomer of that particular atom, of that particular molecule. Okay, let us consider an example. For example, CH3 CH2 CH2 Br. CH3 CH2 CH2 Br. See here, how many carbon atoms? 1, 2 and 3. 3 carbon atoms. So it is propyl group. So propyl group substituted by a bromine atom. So it is N-propyl bromide. N-propyl bromide. Okay. N-propyl bromide. See here, this N-propyl bromide, on treating with aluminium bromide, AlBr3, aluminium bromide, see some rearrangement will be taking place, and this bromine atom, it will be moving to the second carbon atom. Okay, so this is a straight chain compound, N-propyl bromide. So after rearrangement using the reagent AlBr3, this bromine atom, which is attached to the first carbon atom, it will be moving to the second carbon atom. Okay, so that the formed product, it will be like this: CH3 CHBr, then CH3. Okay, the formed product will be CH3 CHBr CH3. So this compound, it is isopropyl bromide. Isopropyl bromide. Okay, so here N-propyl bromide, it undergoes rearrangement or reshuffling to form isopropyl bromide. Then one more example is given in your textbook. CH3 C CH3 double bond NOH. So this is an oxime. CH3 C CH3 double bond N oxime. See, CH3 CO CH3. If it is CO group attached at this position, it becomes CH3 CO CH3. So it is acetone, isn't it? So this is a derivative of acetone. So we can say that. And this NOH group, it is oxime group. Oxime. Okay. So this compound, we can write it as, name it as acetone oxime. Acetone oxime. Okay. So this is acetone oxime. On treating with PCl5, acetone oxime, on treating with PCl5, we will be having CH3 C double bond O NHCH3. CH3 C double bond O NHCH3. Okay. So this compound is N-methyl acetamide. N-methyl acetamide. Okay, so this oxime group, it is converted to this acetamide group, CONH group. So this is amide group, CONH. Okay, so this is also another example for rearrangement or reshuffling reaction. Okay. Then the next one, that is the electron displacement effects. So this much about the different types of reactions. So this is a brief details regarding this different types of organic reactions. Okay, that is addition, substitution, elimination, as well as rearrangement reaction. So next topic, that is a very, very important topic, that is the electron displacement effects. Electron displacement effects. Electron displacement effects. Okay, So this is very important topic, electron displacement effects. So many questions will be asked from this part. So each and every point is very important, and you should not omit any point in this particular area. Okay, that is regarding the electron displacement effects. See, what do you mean by this electron displacement? Electron displacement means normally while a bond is formed or broken, what happens? Some of the electrons will be moved, isn't it? Some electron movement will be taking place while during the bond breaking as well as the bond formation, right? Some of the electrons, some electron shift will be taking place while during the formation of a bond or during the bond breaking. Okay, so the electron movement, the different types of electron movement we can study under this heading, that is electron displacement effects, the different types of electron movements. Okay, so electron movements, or we can say that they are electron displacement. So here you have to study 5 different electron movements or electron displacements. Okay, so the first electron displacement is inductive effect. Inductive effect. Then the second one, that is the electromeric effect. Electromeric effect. Then the third one, that is the resonance or mesomeric effect. Resonance or mesomeric effect. Then the fourth one, that is hyperconjugation. Hyperconjugation. And the fifth one, that is steric effect. So these are the 5 important electron displacement effects that you have to study. Inductive effect, electromeric effect, then resonance or mesomeric effect, hyperconjugation, as well as the steric effect. So these 5 factors will be included in all the organic reactions. So if an organic reaction is happening, any of these effects will be taking place in that particular reaction. Okay, sometimes it may be an inductive effect or an electromeric effect or a resonance effect, like that. So if any organic reaction, if we are taking into account, we can say that any of these effects will be happening in that particular organic reaction. Okay, so these are the different types of effects, and it is very important for your examination point of view. Okay, so next we can go through one by one. First one, that is the inductive effect. Inductive effect. Inductive effect. See here, in the case of inductive effect, it has got some connection with the dipole moment or the polarity of a molecule. So here the term polarity, it is very important while we are considering the case of this inductive effect. Okay, polarity, the term polarity is very important. The polarity means the atoms or the molecules will be bonded with some positive or negative charges. Some slight positive or slight negative charges will be there in the atoms present in that particular molecule. Okay, so here sometimes I am considering a carbon single bond carbon bond. Okay, so here both the atoms are the same. That means the electronegativity of these two atoms are the same. That is, there is no electronegativity difference between these two atoms, isn't it? Both of them are carbon atoms, so there is no electronegativity difference. And also consider the case of a carbon hydrogen bond. See here also, both carbon and hydrogen, they are having almost similar electronegativities. Okay, they are having similar electronegativities, not the same, they are having the similar electronegativities. Okay, En means electronegativity. So here these two atoms, we can say that here carbon and carbon both are same. Here carbon and hydrogen almost similar electronegativity is there. So there will not be any difference between these two bonds. That means this particular bond is not polar. Okay, this carbon hydrogen bond is not polar since it is not having an electronegativity difference, isn't it? So no electronegativity difference is between is there in between this carbon and hydrogen. Okay, so we can say that this carbon hydrogen bond is not polar, and also since it has got no electronegativity difference. So what happens is that in this carbon hydrogen, if the bond is broken, what happens? The electrons will be shared symmetrically between these two atoms. Okay, that means if this particular bond is broken, see, one bond means it will be having two electrons, right? So these two electrons were equally shared between these two atoms. That means the electron pair will be equally shared between carbon as well as hydrogen. Okay, carbon will be having one electron and hydrogen will be having one electron, since both of them are having the same electronegativity. See, suppose this carbon, it is attached with a more electronegative atom. For example, carbon and a halogen. Halogen, it is X represents the halogen. Okay, X represents the halogens, and X can be fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Okay, X can be fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. See here, some electronegativity difference is there. You know that this halogens, it is having, they are the highest electronegativity group, isn't it? These halogens will be having high electronegativity. So while comparing carbon and hydrogen, they will be having some electronegativity difference. So that carbon will be having a slight positive charge. Slight positive charge, it is represented by delta, and X halogens will be having a slight negative charge. Okay, that means this particular bond is polar. So this is a polar bond, and also there will be an electronegativity difference between the two atoms. Okay, so this particular bond is polar, and there is some electronegativity difference. Okay, so a polarity is developed in between these two bonds, isn't it? Sorry, in between these two atoms. A polarity is developed in between these two atoms, and also such. See here, in this case, carbon, it is having a slight positive charge, halogen is having a slight negative charge. So as a result of the polarity, some charge separation is developed in between these two atoms. Okay, some charge separation is developed between these two atoms. So we can say that this particular bond is polar, or it will be this particular, as a result of the polarity, it will be developing a polar nature. Or already it is if it is a non-polar bond, it will develop some polarity in between these two molecules. So this effect we can call it as the inductive effect. Okay, so as a result of the presence of this high electronegativity group, what happens? The two bonds become, this particular bond becomes polar, and the two atoms will be getting a polar nature, or it will be having a slight positive and negative charges. So this phenomenon we can call it as the inductive effect. So this inductive effect we can define it like this. Inductive effect means it is the induction of polarity or dipole. It is the induction of polarity. It is the induction of polarity or dipole in an otherwise non-polar bond. In an otherwise non-polar bond by another polar bond. By another polar bond. Okay, so this inductive effect is the induction of polarity or dipole in an otherwise non-polar bond by another polar bond. See here, this polarity, it is induced to a non-polar bond. Polarity of a particular bond, it will be inducing a polarity to a non-polar bond. Okay, it will be inducing polarity to a non-polar bond. A non-polar bond, it will be getting a slight polarity as a result of this induction or inductive effect. Okay, so that is the definition for this inductive effect. So inductive effect, it is the induction of polarity or dipole in an otherwise non-polar bond by another polar bond. That is inducing polarity to a non-polar bond. Okay, so that is the definition for the inductive effect. Suppose, say for example, carbon attached to a halogen atom, then again one more carbon, okay. See here, this X, it will be having a negative charge, and this carbon will be having a slight positive charge, okay. So what happens is that this electrons will be moving on, the electrons present or this electrons will be moving to this particular halogen atom, okay. So normally this inductive effect, it is represented by an arrow mark, and the arrow, it is in the middle of the particular line. So this is the representation of of this inductive effect, okay, representation of the inductive effect. So inductive effect, it is represented by this symbol. So here, suppose this carbon, it is attached to a halogen atom. So this bond becomes polar, isn't it? This carbon has got delta positive. This will be having slight negative charge. And again, inductive effect means it is the induction of polarity. So this bond is polar. This bond will be inducing polarity to this particular bond. Okay, that means this carbon-carbon bond, normally it is a non-polar bond, right? So as a result of the CX bond, the CX bond is a polar bond. This polar bond will be developing some polarity in this particular CC bond. Okay, so therefore we can say that this bond will also becomes polar as a result of this CX bond. Okay, so we can say that this particular carbon atom, it will be having again a slight positive charge. Okay, so this bond is also become polar. Okay, then again as a result of this effect, this inductive effect, what happens again? So here we can also put two arrows. Okay, then again as a result of the inductive effect developed here, this carbon atom will again gets a slight positive charge. So we can write it as 3 delta plus. Here it is 2 delta plus. Okay, so here sorry, here one arrow. So this has got delta positive, 2 delta positive. Here again, this carbon atom will also will be getting a slight positive charge. So the electron shift will be to this carbon atom from suppose this is the first carbon atom, this is the second carbon atom, this is the third carbon atom. What happens? The electron shift will be from this carbon atom to second carbon atom, then from second to first one, then to X. Okay, that means the electron shift will be towards this halogen atom. So here what happens, the electron density will be greater, isn't it? At this position or at this bond, at this position, the electron density will be very much greater. Okay, so this is what we call as the inductive effect. So here normally we can say that carbon-carbon, it is a non-polar bond. This carbon-carbon is also a non-polar bond. But as a result of this electron pair shift, what happens, or as a result of the X group, the polar group attached to this carbon, this bond becomes polar, and as the due to the influence of this particular polar bond, this particular bond becomes polar. This non-polar bond also becomes polar as a result of this effect. So this effect we can call it as the inductive effect. Okay, so this is the induction or the polarity developed to a non-polar bond. Okay, hope you are clear with this inductive effect. So here, while considering this particular bond, we can say that the electron density around this carbon atom, it is very, very high. So all the electrons will be shifting towards this carbon atom, isn't it? See here, it has got the electron pair from this carbon, it will be shifting to this carbon. This electron pair will be moving to this carbon. Then again, this electron pair will be moving to this carbon atom, and so on. Okay, so likewise, it will be, the electron density will be changing. Okay, so this inductive effect, if there are so many carbon atoms, the inductive effect will be propagating through this chain, along this chain itself. And also one more point to be noted down is that, you see here, as the chain gets elongated, what happens? If moving through this line, what happens? The inductive effect, the effect of the inductive effect will be decreasing gradually. Okay, because the influence will be will become lesser as we move on to this side. Okay, the influence of the inductive effect becomes lessened while moving to the fourth carbon or fifth carbon and so on. So the first carbon has got a highest inductive effect, second will be having much more lesser inductive effect, then again lesser inductive effect, then again lesser inductive effect, like that it goes on. Okay, and also so here in this way the inductive effect will be decreasing. I effect, I am writing it as I effect, inductive effect will be decreasing along this manner. Okay. inductive effect is decreasing. Then again, another point to be noted down is that this inductive effect, it is a permanent effect. It is a very important point. Inductive effect is a permanent effect. And also, sometimes if the inductive effect, it is transmitted through a solvent or a space. If the inductive effect, it is transmitted through a solvent or a space, we can call it as the field effect. Okay, the inductive effect, if it is transmitted along with the solvent, if it is transmitted through a solvent, we can call it as the field effect. Then again, two more points to be noted down regarding this inductive effect. So this permanent effect as well as the field effect is also very important. I think you are clear with this inductive effect. It is very, very important. You should not skip this particular area. Then the next is two types of inductive effect are there: plus I effect and minus I effect. Plus I effect and minus I effect. Okay. Plus I effect means those groups which are electron releasing groups. Plus I effect means those groups attached to the carbon which are electron releasing, that particular groups we can call it as the plus I effect groups. Okay, electron releasing groups, they are the plus I effect groups. And then the opposite case is in the case of minus I effect. That means this minus I effect means those groups which are having electron attracting power. Those groups which are having electron attracting tendency, they are called as the minus I group. Those groups which are having the electron attracting tendency, they are called as the minus I effect groups. Okay, so these are the two categories, plus I effect and minus I effect. Then the next is you have to go through some of the plus I effect and minus I effect groups. Okay. So normally this plus I and minus I effect, they are compared with the case of hydrogen atom. Okay. So first of all, I will be writing the minus I effect group. Okay, plus I effect group. Okay, plus I effect. So starting from hydrogen, comparison it is with hydrogen atom. Then comes deuterium. Hydrogen less than deuterium. Then comes methyl group, CH3. Then CH2R, ethyl group, then comes CHR2, then comes CR3. Okay, so this is the groups having plus I effect. That is the first least one, that is the hydrogen atom. Then deuterium has got a greater plus I effect. That means a greater electron releasing capacity than that of hydrogen. Okay. Then comes the methyl group. Again, comparing with deuterium and methyl group has got a greater electron releasing capacity. Then again CH2R, that is the ethyl group. CH2, that is CH2, CH3, ethyl group. Okay. So ethyl group. Then comes, so this is a primary alkyl group, isn't it? Then comes the secondary alkyl group, that is CHR2. Secondary alkyl group. CHR2, we can write it as CH. Then two alkyl groups are attached. So this is a secondary carbon atom, isn't it? So this is a secondary alkyl group. Then comes the tertiary alkyl group. Tertiary alkyl group means C attached to three alkyl groups. Okay. Attached to three alkyl groups. So that is the tertiary alkyl group. Okay. So among these, this tertiary alkyl group has got a greater electron releasing effect while comparing with all other groups. Okay. So this is in the increasing order of plus I effect. Increasing order of plus I effect. Okay. So comparing with hydrogen atom, hydrogen has got the least plus I effect. Then comes deuterium, ethyl group, then secondary alkyl group, then tertiary alkyl group. Okay. Then the next one, that is the minus I effect groups. Example for a minus I effect group. Minus I effect group means they are the they are groups having electron attracting tendency. That means they will be withdrawing electrons from the chain towards itself. Okay. They will be withdrawing electrons from the chain towards itself. So example for the groups having minus I effect, starting from hydrogen, then comes phenyl group, C6H5, then comes OH, then comes OCH3, then comes I, then comes Br, then comes fluorine, then comes COOH, then comes SO3H, okay, then again CN, then again NO2. Okay, so these are the groups having minus I effect, and here while comparing all these, NO2 group is having the greatest minus I effect. Okay, so this is in the increasing order. So NO2 group has got the greatest minus I effect, and hydrogen will be having the least minus I effect, or C6H5 will be having somewhat lesser minus I effect. So the greater electron withdrawing tendency is with this NO2 group. Okay, NO2 group has got the greatest electron withdrawing tendency. So this is about the two groups, that is the two classification, plus I effect and minus I effect. So suppose if this carbon atom, see, suppose CX, or if it is a fluorine atom, what happens? This fluorine atom, it is having a minus I effect, isn't it? Fluoride ion is having a minus I effect. So what happens? These electrons will be pulled towards this fluorine atom. So the electrons will be moving like this, in this direction. Okay. So at the, what happens? The fluorine will be attracting all the electron towards its side. Okay. So this is regarding the order of the minus I effect and plus I effect. Then the next is regarding the applications of inductive effect. Hope you are clear with this plus I effect and minus I effect. Next is the applications. I will be writing in the next page. Okay. Applications of inductive effect. First one, that is the effect on bond length. Effect on bond length. Okay. So here, see, regarding this bond length and this inductive effect, while comparing these two, this bond length decreases with increase in inductive effect. So as inductive effect increases, bond length decreases. Okay, so that is the relation connecting these two. Bond length decreases with increase in the inductive effect. See here, for example, I will be writing one example, that is CH3I, then comes CH3Br, then CH3F, sorry, CH3Cl, then CH3F. Okay. So comparing all these four compounds, methyl iodide, then methyl iodide, then methyl bromide, methyl chloride, and methyl fluoride. Methyl iodide, methyl bromide, methyl chloride, and methyl fluoride. See, among all these cases, which one has got the greater inductive effect? See, all these groups, that is iodine, bromine, chlorine, then fluorine, isn't it? All these elements, they are having minus I effect, right? Halogens will be having minus I effect. And among these halogens, which one has got a greater minus I effect? Or the minus I effect is maximum. We have seen it is maximum in the case of fluorine, isn't it? While comparing all the other halogens, this fluorine has got a maximum minus I effect. Okay. So among these, this fluoride has got a maximum minus I effect. So it will be this particular compound will be having maximum minus I effect. So what happens is that, so this minus I effect increases means, see, CH3F, it will be having greater tendency to withdraw the electrons towards its side. Then again, methyl chloride, it will be having still lesser tendency. So this inductive effect will be decreasing, isn't it? So in this order, isn't it? So this inductive effect, minus I effect, is maximum in this case, and minus I effect is minimum in this case. So we can say that the bond length will be maximum maximum here and the bond length will be minimum here. Okay, that means this halogens will be due to the presence of this fluoride ions, it will be this will be having greater electronegativity, so the electron pull will be towards this side. So what happens, the inductive effect or minus I effect is maximum and also the bond length becomes shorter. Okay, so minus I effect is maximum and the bond length is shortened at this position. But here what happens, CH3I, this electronegativity difference or this iodine has got a both of these will be, the electronegativity difference between these two will be lesser while comparing with these two, isn't it? So what happens, the electron withdrawing effect of iodine or the minus I effect is less pronounced than in the case of fluorine. So what happens, the electron withdrawing tendency or the electron attracting tendency is lesser while comparing with that of methyl fluoride. So what happens, the electron withdrawing tendency is lesser, that means the bond length is greater. So here bond length is maximum at methyl iodide and bond length is minimum at CH3F. Okay, and again minus I effect is maximum at CH3F and minus I effect is minimum in CH3I while comparing these four compounds. Okay, so here in this order we can write it like this: minus I effect increases along this order. Okay, minus I effect increases in this order, and again bond length decreases in this order. Bond length decreases in this order. Okay. Hope you are clear with the first application, effect of bond length. Okay, so these applications are also very important. You should not skip any portion. I will be writing all the topics as very important, so please don't skip. Sometimes in your examinations it will be asked for comparing these four compounds and you have to explain which one has got a maximum bond length or maximum inductive effect, and application level questions can be expected from this particular area. Okay, then the second one, that is the effect on dipole moment. Effect on dipole moment. See here, normally dipole moment it is expressed by the letter mu and the unit for dipole moment is dpi units, right? Unit for dipole moment is dpi. And also here also you can compare these compounds, CH3I, then CH3Br, then CH3Cl, then CH3F, these four compounds. Okay, methyl iodide, methyl bromide, methyl chloride and methyl fluoride. See here, this if we are discussing the effect on dipole moment, isn't it? Normally dipole moment means, what do you mean by dipole moment? It is the product of the charge and distance, isn't it? Dipole moment, it is the product of the charge and the distance. And also here we can say that this inductive effect, as due to the inductive effect, what happens, or due to the dipole moment, or if a charge separation is there between the two atoms, what happens, the polarity will be increased, isn't it? If a charge separation is there between the two atoms, what happens, the polarity will be developed in between the two bonds. If the polarity is there, or if the polarity is increasing, what happens, thereby dipole moment will also increase, mu will also increase automatically. So similarly, if the polarity is increasing, what about the inductive effect? Inductive effect will also increase. So we can say that the general trend is that as dipole moment increases, the inductive effect will also increase. That is, they are directly related, but in the case of bond length and inductive effect, they are inversely related. So here we can say that if there is a charge separation between the two atoms, there develops a polarity. So as polarity develops, what happens, we can say that dipole moment, it is the product of charge into distance. So as polarity is increased, what happens, the dipole moment will also increase. If the dipole moment is increasing, or if there is a polarity there, what happens, the inductive effect will also increase. So both of them are directly related. Polarity and inductive effect are directly related. See here, in these four cases, CH3I, this halogens, they are electron withdrawing group. So the electron displacement will be towards the halide ion. So it will be like this, the shift of electrons towards the halide ion. And here F is having the highest minus I effect, isn't it? So here this dipole moment will be increasing in this order, right? Dipole moment is increasing in this order. Dipole moment increases in this particular order as methyl fluoride has got the highest polarity. So dipole moment increases in this order, inductive effect also in the same order. I hope you can see what I am writing. Inductive effect also increases in this order. Both of them are in the same order. That means they are directly related. Okay. Hope you are clear with these two applications. Then there is one more application that is regarding the relative strength of acids and bases that we can discuss in our next session. But before that, you should study well this particular topic, that is the inductive effect or the electron displacement effects. Then only you could follow the next sessions. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to follow me. Okay. So please study these particular portions carefully, and please don't mark these portions. Okay, you have to by heart the portions. You have to be thorough with this particular portions. Okay, so please do it well. If you have having any doubts, you can call me. Please don't hesitate to call me. Then in the next session we can discuss the relative strength of acids and bases. Okay, thank you for today and have a nice day. Bye.